Hi, my name's Johnny, and today we are taking a look at the JB-75 from Harley Benton. So the JB-75 comes out of their VT series, which stands for Vintage Series. So these are a series of vintage-inspired guitars. This one is inspired by a precision jazz bass. Looking at it, looking at the specs, looking at what this thing has to offer, it's a pretty no-nonsense, passive, paint-by-numbers jazz bass. But it retails for £120, which is madness. But after adding VAT and shipping to here in the UK, it comes to about £155. Now, for some viewers that are watching this right now, it might be even more than that. So, although this bass is very affordable, there are some things to take into consideration because the shipping can be so much. For those who don't know anything about Harley Benton, it is Thoman's house brand. They're able to drive these prices down because they manufacture them themselves in-house, cutting out the middleman, okay? So they don't have to give the retailers a cut because they are the manufacturers and the retailers. So that's just a brief explanation of how these basses are so cheap and so good. You know, they've got a fantastic reputation and there are hundreds of videos of this bass online. But thank you very much for clicking on this one and clicking that like button. So the VT series, I've been wanting to check one of these out for a long time. I've had a couple of Harley Bentons on this channel before, that being the PB50, which is their 50 style P bass, and the enhanced jazz bass. It'll be interesting to see how this one stacks up against that in retrospect. So starting at the top, all maple neck, so maple neck, maple fretboard as well with block inlays, and it feels fantastic. It's a 38 width nut at the top, I think, but it says it's a C shape. I would describe it as like a vintage C. It doesn't feel as flat, or it doesn't have like such a flat profile compared to like a Fender or a Squier modern C on a jazz bass. It feels a bit chunkier. I'd say if this is a P bass neck and this is a jazz bass neck, it's kind of here. It's a bit more jazz than P, but it has got a bit of that P bass kind of territory in the roundness and how it feels in your hand. I think that's really great. It feels really comfortable to play. I've got no issues with that. It's like a satin finish on the back. It's not this heavy gloss. It's not cheap feeling and unfinished. It feels super smooth and with zero fret sprouting as well. So that's all great. I think the headstock looks great. The logo design is fine. One thing that does let it down though is the machine heads. They're not good, I don't think. Each tuner feels different. The one for the E string in particular was really clunky, and like I could feel it going like almost like clicking as I was turning it. It was horrible. But then like others are like really smooth, and so a bit of discrepancy in between them. And that's not to say that everyone's E1 is going to be bad. But on this one, they all feel a bit different. Of course, the string gauge is different across each string, so it might have to do with that, but it's certainly a sign that they are on the cheaper side. But they're the kind of little details that you can kind of expect out of this kind of price range. So moving up to the body, is made of American ash compared to the Harley Benton standard series, which is made out of poplar, I believe. This body looks fantastic. It's got some amazing grain in there, but you can definitely see where there are two different bits of wood. It stops and there's a different coloured bit of wood there. It's not the most noticeable, and in certain lights you probably wouldn't even be able to tell. Now, a bad thing about this American ash body is that it weighs an absolute ton. This is definitely one of my heavier basses. So if you're looking for something that is lightweight and not going to hurt your back, then I can't really recommend this bass. Certainly the Squier stuff is on the lighter side. Of course, this being a 70s style jazz bass with the natural body, maple neck, block inlays, you've got the black scratch plate on there as well. Now, it's a bit cheaper looking because it's almost like a single ply where it's just all black, there's no white binding around it. But honestly, I don't really mind. I don't think it makes it look that cheap. Because it is a different colour to the body itself, I think it's fine. Now, of course, this bass does come in a couple of colours, and on some of the other ones, like the black one, where it's all black, I think it would have been nice to have that white binding around there, make it stand out a little bit more. Now, the bridge, I don't normally spend much time talking about, because in this price range, it's normally just your standard vintage style bridge. But this one's a little bit different. I've got some things to say. You've got these saddles on there that look like brass saddles, but I can't tell what they are. Because the website doesn't specify, and that leads me to believe that they're not, they're just made to look like it. But I was certainly surprised when I got it. I was like, oh, I didn't know I had this. That would have been quite a good selling point. So the fact that they don't write anything about it on there, maybe it's not, but it looks fantastic regardless. The only bad thing about it is that I found this bass a little bit trickier to set up, to get it right. When I first got it, it played absolutely fine, really good actually. It, definitely punching above its weight. I wanted to lower the action a little bit, sort the intonation out. The truss rods didn't require any adjustments, the neck was straight as an arrow, but I found it a bit difficult to get that intonation right, certainly with the E string as well. The screw in the saddle was moving out and out, and I was like, oh no, is it gonna come out? Before I could get it absolutely bang on. So yeah, some more tweaking needed to do for that setup. I am so sorry. So I hit stop on the camera and I had to restart again and go back and edit this bit in later because I've just totally forgotten, that it wouldn't be a video of mine, and you would slate me if I didn't talk about the knobs. They're fine. So now let's have a listen to what this sounds like. There's a lot of tones in there. Now we were expecting it to be like a jazz bass, and it sounds like a jazz bass. My favourite sound of this bass is actually just the neck pickup, really close to a P bass sound. You might have seen me make some similar comments in my Blindfold shootout of this bass and the Squier Classic Vibes 70s jazz bass. And yeah, I still think that. You kind of get that feel when you turn off the bridge pickup in a jazz bass. It kind of sounds P bass-esque, but it's just something that's not quite like a P bass, and I don't think it's quite a substitute. This gets even closer to a P bass, I think, and I think it sounds really good. Honestly, I can't really fault the sound of this bass. I think it sounds really great. Whack a bit of compression on there, maybe a bit of a preamp, and yeah, it sings. So throughout this video, you might have heard me kind of starting to compare it to the Squier 70s jazz bass, and that is because very soon on the channel, we are going to be comparing these back to back, playing the same things, same strings, all of that jazz, so we can see which is better, because this is half the price of the Squier Classic Vibe. Well, how does it stack up against the enhanced jazz bass? Now, whilst I don't have that bass with me anymore, you can click up in the card to go and check out that video, and I'll kind of give my thoughts now. Overall, the enhanced is slightly better value for money. You get so many more features when you creep above that 200, 300 price mark. But in terms of sound, I think this has got it in the bag. I've struggled to really enjoy the active preamp in the enhanced series, and I way preferred the passive sound, particularly of the neck pickup. I thought it sounded incredible. And the same can be said for this bass, you know? I think Harley Bentons do great neck pickups. So overall, would I recommend this bass? Yeah, absolutely. I think it punches way above its price point. And if somebody's looking to get their first bass, this is a fantastic purchase. Hell, I've got like 10 basses at the minute and I still really enjoy playing this one. It's a fantastic bass for whatever level you're performing at. And let's not forget that at this price range, one of the most important things is that you've got a solid foundation for modding, and there'll be people out there that have modded these to the nth degree and changed everything about them. But having that solid foundation there is really important, and that is what this thing provides. So it weighs an absolute ton, the tuners are a bit naff, but it is still fantastic value. So make sure you click the link in the description, go and check them out, and yeah, maybe pick one up if you like it. Let me know in the comment down below what you think of this bass, and if you're looking forward to hearing this up against the Squier Classic Vibe. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.